First Alert Meteorologist JD Disharoon here with your update for this evening, the Sunday evening for you. Now, all the showers and storms we saw earlier today that gave us the severe weather that rolled through North Georgia, downing trees and unfortunately taking the life of one person. Thankfully, all that has moved out. In the wake, we do have gusty winds still, thankfully not as strong as what we saw earlier today, but we do have the potential to see a bit more in the way overnight, but also some drier and colder air finally starting to work its way in. So that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at is basically just a very cold rain as we make our way into the next several days. Now, on Wednesday, next several days, we're actually going to be dry out there, which is some good news for us. Otherwise, we're going to continue to look and see just the cold weather. It's really going to be the big story here. So as we move along in the forecast tonight, we're going to be looking at temperatures back into the 20s. Otherwise, that's a few degrees below average for this time of year. By the time we get to tomorrow afternoon, still well below average. In fact, I think we're not even going to get out of the 40s for our afternoon high. Temperatures are going to be around 49 here in the city. A few spots may get into those lower 50s, but otherwise we're going to be dealing with clear skies as we head throughout the day. Meanwhile, as we get into Tuesday, a little bit warmer, so we're back into the mid-50s, still a few degrees below average, but you will notice the cloud cover starting to roll back in, and that's in advance of the next system that's going to be moving through our area. In fact, that's going to arrive on Wednesday. That's our next First Alert weather day. It's going to be for a cold rain across the area. We're going to be seeing those temperatures really struggling even to get out of the mid-40s. Some folks not even out of the 30s, especially up in North Georgia, where some of that cold rain could mix in with a little sleet, a little bit of freezing rain, and even a few snowflakes up there. I don't think this is going to be a big event. There could be some icing on the roadways, but this kind of system that we have setting up is not going to be anything like what we saw with either system in January, where it was kind of like a big snow event. This is really just going to be a mess, a cold mess, but a cold, wet, rainy mess for most of the North Georgia area. As for right now, we're looking at 40 degrees here in Atlanta. It's a good 10 degrees cooler than what we saw this time yesterday, and we're going to continue to see that temperature fall during the overnight hours as basically this cold front is starting to slide on in. With it, that strong northwest wind, today it was gusty at times, over 40 miles an hour. It subsided a bit, still seeing some gusts over 20 though, sustained winds right around 15, and we're going to continue to see that really breezy conditions continue over the next hour, 2 hours or so. So by the time we get into 10, 11, midnight, I think things are going to start to calm down a bit. You notice, though, we still have sustained winds 10 to 20 miles an hour across most of the North Georgia area. As for our temperatures, we're going to be looking at really just a really steady fall. We don't have any cloud cover to kind of keep in the heat. We have that strong northerly flow that's helping to bring in that cooler air from the northern states. And basically, it's just something that we're going to have to deal with for the next few days is this colder air rolling into place here. Now, notice by the time we get to tomorrow morning across North Georgia as a whole, we're going to be talking about temperatures in the upper teens to lower 20s for the North Georgia mountains. So a very hard freeze there. Really a lot of folks dealing with a hard freeze in the morning. 27 in Rome, Carrollton, also down into LaGrange, 28 in Covington, 30 for folks over into Eatonton. Now, again, we do warm up a little bit for tomorrow. You'll still definitely want the jacket out there. We're going to be seeing those temperatures into the upper 40s, around 49 degrees. Mostly sunny to start the day, but I think you'll be hard-pressed to find any clouds in the sky really once we get past the noon hour. Just a high-pressure system that's building in is going to be so dominant across the region that it's not going to really give any moisture the ability to lift itself up and condense into clouds into the atmosphere. Now, by the time we get into Tuesday, you'll notice we're going to be dealing with 55 degrees. So we warm things up a little bit. That high pressure starting to move out. But as it moves out, it's allowing our next front to move in. And that's what's causing our next First Alert weather day for your Wednesday. Now, by the time we get into Wednesday morning, cold rain already going to be in place across most of North Georgia. So here we go, timing it out for you. By 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, starting to see a few rain showers in Atlanta. By the time we get to Rome, maybe a mix, maybe some snow to start us off as we get up towards Ringgold, over towards Ellijay and Helen, maybe starting off completely as snow into the morning hours. But really, unfortunately, we're not going to see a lot of cold air move in with this system. Now, because of that, that's what's going to really be helping us getting our, what should I say, warmer air advection. There we go. It's a little weather term. Because we're going to be seeing that, most of this is just going to be rain by the time we get into the afternoon hours. Notice, though, as we get to 3 o'clock, just a really light rain across this. Earlier this week, we saw rainfall amounts, 4-5 inches across the area. This is not that type of system. This is really going to be maybe an inch of less of rain, only lasting one day. You notice on the backside, you saw a little pink, little white trying to work its way in. That's a little wraparound moisture. It's not going to be a lot, and really all it's going to do is give you the potential for a few flurries across the region. Now, don't get me wrong, it'll be very nice to see if we can get that in here, but it's not going to lead to any accumulations or anything like that. It just kind of will be something that we'll have to keep our eye on. Now, the rest of the 7-day forecast, I hope you haven't put your winter coats away because you're definitely going to want them. Once we get all of that moisture out of here, we're going to be seeing 25 degrees for Thursday morning. A lot of folks outside the metro area are going to be waking up into the teens on Thursday. Most of us will be waking up into the teens on Friday. Here in Atlanta at Hartsfield Jackson, we're forecasting 22 degrees, and they're always a few degrees warmer than folks right outside that area. But also look at the highs. I think Thursday, most folks are going to be struggling to get out of the 30s. I think we're going to top out for the majority of our viewers into the upper 30s across the region, maybe getting up into the lower 40s by a degree or so under mostly sunny skies. Now, we'll keep the sunshine around for your Friday, but again, we're starting off teens and 20s and struggling to get out of the 30s by the afternoon. I think we'll make it up into the low to mid 40s here inside the perimeter. But then another cold night as we get into our Friday evening. Now, Friday evening into Saturday, that's where we're going to see temperatures finally starting to rise up just a bit, looking for those mid to upper 20s, high up near 50 degrees. And then again, as we head in towards Sunday, we'll be looking at finally temperatures above freezing for the morning here in the city. I think outside the city, we'll be looking still just below freezing, but a high temperature finally back up into the lower 50s. So, we started the month of February off in a very warm fashion. We had the snow in January, and then all of a sudden we were like 70s, almost got up to 80s in some locations that one afternoon. And, then it kind of started to moderate out a bit. We had that big system last week, that wedge in place, and that really helped to keep things a little on the cooler side. And then now we're continuing to watch these systems just kind of roll in from the northern tier up into Canada and then roll down through the central plains and make their way into Georgia. And we're seeing these Arctic blasts just kind of continuing down. This next one's going to be pretty prolonged. I don't think it's going to be as cold as what we saw early in January when we had a few spots flirting with the single digits and we were talking teens, like mid-teens in the Atlanta area. I don't think we're going to get quite that cold, but it's still going to be well below average as we make our way into at least next weekend and in the beginning of next week. The good news is, though, longer-term models do have us warming up nicely as we make our way into the last few days of February and on into the beginning of March. So kind of keep that in mind. We're already in the back half of February. We passed the midway point. So just a few more weeks till we get to that warmer weather. Now, obviously, we'll have some cool spells after that, but we are slowly starting to make our way in towards the spring season.